But I thought it'd be good today just to have a little update on Dove Cafe. I had the pleasure of calling into Dove Cafe a couple of weeks ago, and it was just wonderful to see it was buzzing, and also to see that I hardly recognised anybody there, which was great to see so many new faces there, and to see it being so well used. I asked Roger if he'd do a little interview with me, and he's going to just do a very, very short one in a moment. But Roger said, why don't you show Robbie's film? Now, some of you will recognise Robbie as one of our key volunteers in the kitchen. And Heather says we really can't do without people like Robbie. They do an amazing job. Westward Housing, I think it is, have done a brilliant video talking about Robbie's story. And within it, it has just the most beautiful piece about Dove Cafe and how it has been a help to him. So I hope you don't mind, but we thought we'd show you that to you this morning. Ross talked last week about how we express unconditional love, and I think this video shows how it's being lived out by the grace of God. So if we're ready to roll, thank you. I'm listening to Robbie talk about how the cafe has just been so significant for him, giving him something to live for. Don't know if you heard him say that. So thank you for your support on the way that you've kept Dove Cafe going for nearly getting on for 10 years. So not quite 10 years yet, but it's getting that way. Roger, join me on stage, because otherwise no one else can see us. How many guys like Robbie do we have at the moment in the cafe?
You're going to ask me intelligent questions.
Sorry,
have we got 5 at the moment? 4.
4.
I'm being shown a 4, so it's a 4.
Not always from Langdon now.
No. Initially, when we set it up, we think it's somewhere about 8 years ago.
Yeah, I think
we're kind of struggling to remember dates, but when we first set up Dove Cafe, it was through links that you had with the chaplain at Langdon, they were looking for places where people who were thinking of moving out or who were planning to move out had somewhere that they could come and volunteer and would be helpful in their transition into the community. So that's where we started. That link we have maintained, because that was one of our fundamental building blocks. But in fact, over time, staff change a lot at Langdon, the organisation changes a lot. We still have a key person that we communicate with, but that fluctuates over time, and it depends on when people at Langdon are at that stage of being ready to move on. So that always changes week to week, month to month. But in the meanwhile, we have developed a lot of links with both Westward Housing and other support networks that support people with mental health issues. And a lot of their support workers actually come in and meet with clients here on a Tuesday as well. So we've had approaches from them as well. And when we've had space, we've been able to take people on. Brilliant. So we've never struggled with finding volunteers. So it's always worked really well.
So in general, how's the cafe going?
It's going well. It's never the same, and you never know how busy you're going to be from one week to the next. There are some people who have been there for quite some time. We see new people come in. We see people who are stop at the coach stop up in South Street who've come from other parts of the country on holiday who pop in. Quite often they're people who have other church links who are really interested in what's happening here. So we have a real mixed group of people who come. Yeah. And we're very well supported by people within the church. Yeah, there is one person in the congregation who I won't mention by name, but makes us wonderful cakes on a very regular basis that go down really well, for which we give great thanks. And there's also a lot of people in the congregation who come occasionally or extremely regularly, who help in that interaction with people. And it's about making an environment that feels comfortable and welcome.
Yeah. I enjoyed a piece of one of those cakes a couple of weeks ago, and they are very good.
You can't go without them, I'm afraid.
And actually, it was the support of church folk from the beginning that actually gave the foundation that we could build Dove Cafe on. Okay. We'll have to move on, but in terms of prayer needs, what can we be particularly praying for, do you think, about the cafe?
I mean, it's prayer needs in general are great in the sense of we just don't know who might come in through the door and what their needs will be. But definitely for the volunteers, I mean, people like Robbie are integral to how we work. Robbie's one of those guys that when you first meet him, you kind of go, oops, you know, and you first impressions, you have to stand back. But he's the most gentle giant you can think of, and he always remembers people's names.
Yes.
He also remembers what they drink in terms of teas and coffees and whether they have sugar and whether it's weak or whether it's strong. And people like him are fundamental to us. And his mother came in on Tuesday, which he does occasionally, and was just saying how important Dove Cafe has been to him, because we were talking about the video. And that's lovely to hear. And the volunteers are at different stages, and people need prayer support as well as what we can do on a weekly basis. And there's lots of people many of them who are very vulnerable, and who, you know, enjoy engaging, although they themselves might find that quite difficult. Yeah. So it's about being sensitive and careful.
Brilliant.
And in terms of prayer, there is a prayer time before Dove Cafe for those who wish to join. And there's often a group of a dozen people here during the morning where there's a time of prayer and reflection.
Which is really
so that a lot of people can join if they wish, and several people do quite regularly.
Yeah. Thank you.